We've all been there at some point in our lives, where our bed is our full-time residence, the to-do list is to do nothing, and scrolling through someone else's life feels easier than showing up for your own. We're going to call that the lazy era, but we're going to step out of that. 2026 is literally around the corner, and I really wanted to talk about this topic today, and it's been in my notepad for a while. I don't want us to set New Year's resolutions in which we will forget all about by March. We're going to make practical steps from now so that we are entering 2026 on a better footing, more productive, with more self-discipline, motivated, and with greater self-respect. Firstly, the word lazy, I think it can definitely feel like a very harsh word to use. And we normally label ourselves with the term lazy when we're not doing very much. But actually, it could be that you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't have a proper routine. Maybe you're feeling uninspired and you've disconnected from your why. You don't know why you're doing the things that you're doing. That's what we need to be thinking about. So rather than calling ourselves lazy, we need to think about what is preventing us. There is a void here. There's a gap that is preventing us from reaching the next steps and reaching our goals and stepping into a more productive version of ourselves. When you care about something, you will find the energy, you will make moves. But when you don't care about something or you don't have a reason to complete something, you won't do it. Let's just talk about keeping your home clean. It's a chore, it's boring, we don't like to do it. But why do we do it? We do it so that we can stay in a clean environment, so that when we return home from being out and about, we feel calm in our home. We want it to feel calm. We don't want it to be cluttered and messy. So that's our why there. And that will motivate you to, build a routine where you're keeping your home clean. In terms of our lives and reaching the next steps and following our goals and, making moves and achieving things, we need to find a why we're doing all these things. At some point, we've all been burnt out. And when you're burnt out, you very much move into survival mode where you are just getting by. And when you're in survival mode, even the most simplest of things can feel heavy. It can feel like an absolute weight to move, to do very, very simple things. So before you scold yourself for being lazy or unmotivated, you need to really think about what is underneath that. What is causing those feelings? Is it that you're tired? Are you scared? Are you bored? What is the reason behind that? So that's the first thing. So you're not lazy. There's something underneath that. Let me reframe that actually. Most of the time, it's not a pure laziness. It's not an issue of being, a pure lazy human being. And, there are times where you are truly just being lazy, but I would say for the most part there's definitely something underneath that, and that's what you really need to explore and discover and find out what might be causing those feelings. True rest is not about escaping life, it's about recharging for it. So think about the actions that you do when you are resting. Are you up at 2:00 in the morning scrolling through your phone? That isn't resting, that's avoidance. And that is a crucial time that you should be spending recharging your batteries for the next day so that you feel more energized. And honestly, real rest is about coming back to yourself. It could be a quiet morning, journaling, washing your hair, going for a walk outside, anything that is going to feel calm, like you're not thinking too much about it, you're not using so much brain power, and you're just relaxing and doing things slowly. And that's what resting should be, not just sitting and scrolling, because I think that's very much what rest has become. Doom scrolling and brain rotting through our phones and not really properly recharging our batteries and getting ready for the next task or whatever it is that we need to do. In as much as there's nothing wrong with spending time on social media, we all do, I do, but we need to also make sure that we are truly resting properly, and taking time to reflect and calm down from the day. Just think about that. What sort of things could you do in your day? Is it that, do you like journaling? You could spend 30 minutes doing that, or maybe you could go on an hour's walk and just get fresh air and people watch and just be within your own thoughts. And one thing that you could do is ask yourself, will this rest restore me, or is it a distraction? Another thing we should think about is discipline, and how we're going to be disciplined, but also making discipline a part of our lives and something that we enjoy and look forward to. So, it could be, for example, layering things that you enjoy on top of it. So for example, on a Sunday evening, you might be planning for your week. So rather than it being an event that you're not looking forward to, you can layer it in with things that you do enjoy. So, maybe you have your shower, you play some music, and then you can get your laptop out, and then you can just, plan for your week and set your diary and make sure that you're ready to go for the week whilst you're enjoying your music with your hair wrapped. Maybe you light a candle and just really romanticize it and just make the environment very enjoyable for yourself so that it becomes part of your routine. That is discipline in itself, but you're making it enjoyable so that when it comes round to it, you begin to enjoy it. And that leads me into systems, building systems without pressure. And I spoke about motivation in my previous video, and I'll include a link on here, but motivation fades, but systems don't fade. So you need to make sure that everything that you're doing, if you are trying to become a better version of yourself, you're trying to achieve something, that all of those things are not wrapped around motivation, because as I said, motivation does fade. So what do you have left? You have the systems that you put in place, and that's what needs to keep you going through those times where it feels boring, where your motivation dips, so that you can finally reach your goals, and then you'll feel very positive about yourself. And what that looks like is creating tiny systems that make making the right choice easy. So for example, putting your journal on your pillow so that when you go to bed it's right in front of you. Keeping your gym clothes in plain sight so that you have no excuse but to put them on and go to the gym. Prepping your breakfast so that when you wake up, you don't feel like you're rushing or having to think about what you're going to prepare for your breakfast. So there's things that you can do, systems that you can put in place that is going to ensure that you maintain that discipline and that consistency. And and another thing is, if we want to stop being quote unquote lazy, is not to rush into all of these things. So we're not going to think about 50 new habits at once and then try to layer all of those in at the same time. That won't work. Think about maybe 2 or 3 maximum, focus on those, and then once those are embedded, you can then add more habits on top of that. And I will go into habit stacking in another video, and I'll go into that in a lot more detail, but that does lead into habit stacking. Sometimes the word laziness, it's not inherent laziness, it could be a fear of being perceived, or a fear of failure, or even a fear of success. That's something that you should really sit down and think about. Why am I not getting up and doing the things that I want? You can be a super ambitious person, and I've come across people who are incredibly ambitious, but they don't seem to be able to action any of the things that they claim to want from their lives. And sometimes that does come from a fear of success, a fear of failure. Sometimes people can be scared of success because it changes everything. It forces you to expand. It forces you to outgrow habits. It can even force you to outgrow certain people. And that can be very scary. So sometimes certain people will stay where they are. They won't strive for more because it feels safer to stay where you are rather than explore and try new things and see where life can take you. So in 2026, I want you to choose courage rather than playing it safe and staying in your comfort zone. Leave the comfort zone, see what else is out there for you, because the world is huge and there's just so many opportunities out there, and what you don't want to happen is many years down the line, or maybe very soon, you'll be thinking to yourself, what if I'd just tried that, what if I'd started this, if only. And that should be scarier than staying put and staying where you are and not growing. So we're going to build momentum. We're going to build momentum with micro wins. And again, I did speak about this in my previous video, but I'm going to talk about this in a bit more depth in today's video. It's tiny little wins throughout the week, so we don't, or throughout the month or the year, whatever. I don't need to give a time scale. You can set your own time scale, for whatever it is that you're trying to do. Tiny wins are so important to keep up your motivation. It's not going to work if you try to overhaul your life in 1 week and think that everything's going to magically change. So I'll just give you an example of something that you could put into place. It could be you want to eat more healthy, and let's say for the past 3-4 years your diet has consisted of takeaway, no water, and then when you do cook a meal, it's a very unhealthy meal. You might initially think, right, that's it, I'm going to, change my life. I'm now eating healthy. And then you go to the shops, you go to the grocery shops and you buy your weekly shop, and it's full of all of these vegetables and, all of these, wonderful healthy foods. But then you get back and you put it into your fridge. And then what happens? You look at it and it's overwhelming. And then you end up not cooking any of it, and then you order a takeaway. So you've just wasted all that money, the food goes bad inside of your fridge, and you're back to square one. So what you could do instead is say, right, I'm in this poor habit of ordering takeaway 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I'm going to reduce that. I'm going to cook for 2 days in the week. And then when you do that, and then you sit and then you eat your nutritious meal, just for those 2 days, you're making progress. So that already is a micro win. And then once you do that for a couple of weeks, you can then increase it to 3 days and then to 4 days. So that is a better way of going about it, and it ensures that you won't fall back into old habits because you're building those new positive habits rather than just overhauling your whole life and then thinking that things are going to magically change, because that doesn't normally happen. And sometimes there might be some magic and it does happen, but more often than not it doesn't happen. I've done that. I've tried to start something new thinking that it was going to just happen overnight, and it didn't. And then I had to really reflect on that and think, okay, I really want to achieve this, but it was overwhelming the way that I went about it. So I'm going to start with small wins, micro wins, and then I'm going to build from that until I reach that final goal. I know I talk about, I use fitness as an example a lot, and I think it's just a very common example. Most people are trying to become healthier versions of themselves. They're trying to reach fitness goals, so I choose that. But, it really could be anything. And the key here is consistency, because what we don't want to fall into by January is that habit of every single week from January 1st, we're saying, oh, we'll start again on Monday, and then you keep telling yourself you're going to start again on Monday, and then you find yourself in June and you're still starting again on Monday. So what exactly is going to change this year? There's no point in waiting until January to set a New Year's resolution that you're not going to follow through on. We're not waiting anymore. We're just going to set our goal. We're going to set those small steps, put systems in place. We're going to start making progress from now, so that when we reach January, we're already on our way to becoming the version of ourselves that we are striving for, that we really want to become. The next thing that I wanted to just think about is energy. When we are in our lazy era, quote unquote, a lot of the time it's because we don't have energy, and we will attribute that to time. So like, oh, we don't have enough time to do this, there's not enough time in the day to do that. But it's not about time, it's about energy. We are going to be working with our body, with our biology, and not against it. Working with your circadian rhythm, and that is to do with your body's alertness and ability to focus throughout the day. Some people are very alert in the morning. They need to complete most of their tasks before midday. They can then do other tasks such as going for a walk in the afternoon, and then maybe complete more creative tasks in the evening. Think about it. You could have 10 hours free per day, but if your energy is low, then nothing gets done. So the real question is, what time of the day do I feel at focus? When do I feel most creative, and when do I need rest? And when you understand that, then you can start working around your free time. Of course, we all have, periods of the day where we need to work, but outside of those hours, think about your energy levels and then work around that so that you can do other things. Another thing that can affect our productivity is planning. We can fall into a trap of over planning. We feel like the more we plan, the more productive we're going to be. But actually, that can become procrastination in disguise. Think about how much time you're spending planning. And in that time that you spend planning, could you have actually completed some tasks? Keep your daily goals short. 3 maximum, and that way your brain knows exactly where to direct its focus. Rather than writing a to-do list, I want you to try a priority list, and that means you're asking the question, what actually moves the needle today? What is the number one priority? What must be completed today? And are there things that if I don't complete it today, then it's not the end of the world, I can move it to another day. Productivity isn't about getting everything done. It's about getting the right things done at the right time. Just start now and then enter 2026 on a very good footing. Give yourself that opportunity to become the best version of yourself. I'm actually filming this video pretty late. The topic came to my head and I really wanted to just sit down and talk about it. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If this video resonated with you, I would truly appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and hit the like button. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.